How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be continuing our little dive into John Wall and his future with the Rockets. And if you haven't watched our video as to why we should trade John Wall, it'll be in the top right-hand corner of your screen or in the link in the description. But in this video, we're going to be covering why the Houston Rockets should not trade John Wall, or at least should not trade John Wall this offseason. Now, as far as trading John Wall is concerned, there are a lot of caveats and hiccups as far as trading him, both logistically and also as far as his value to the team. And as far as covering his value to the team, one of the biggest, I think, more underrated things that John Wall brings to this Rockets team is his mentorship. And I think John Wall as a mentor is really, really valuable. And I think it's valuable enough that it's something that we should contemplate when we're considering his future. And I think it is something that should factor into why we should keep John Wall around for next season.
Right, right, definitely. John Wall, I feel like he is a very underrated mentor, as well as a really good leader. So, assuming that the Rockets keep their top four pick, this is a very guard heavy draft. John Wall plays guard. He knows everything that it takes to be a good guard. He was an all NBA caliber player before his injuries. So he knows what to do on the offensive end, on the defensive end. He knows how to play make. He knows how to make the right plays at times. So he would be a really good mentor for a potential guard that the Rockets select, like a Cade Cunningham, like a Jalen Suggs, like a Jalen Green. And even, players that the Rockets would take with their later picks in the draft, like say an Ao Desumu or a Sharif Cooper if he falls.
Yeah, I think Wall will kind of serve that same role like CP3 did with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and OKC. And yeah, I think Wall, he's been through so much adversity. I think he will have really sage advice on like what to give, like on how to just like his life experiences to like someone like Cade or if not already KPJ. Just how to deal with adversity and how like it is how it's like to be a young star in the NBA and how to deal with all that. And so yeah, I think we also like the Rockets have so many other mentors like DJ Augustine and Eric Gordon. So yeah, I mean, it definitely will be a great atmosphere for any young player on this team.
Absolutely. And I think what CP3 did with Shai Alexander last season in Oklahoma City is, I think, something that the Rockets should be aiming for in keeping John Wall around for this upcoming season. With John Wall and all that he's been through, I think his experiences are really going to be valuable for guys like Cade Cunningham or whoever we end up drafting this season, along with Kevin Porter Jr. The way that he fought through his injury, he has so many experiences both on and off the court that I think will be really, really good. A lot of these players, especially like a guy like Jalen Green, who their IQ on the court and their errors on the court are something that have been listed as an issue. And John Wall and all of his experience, I think that's something that can help a guy like Jalen Green, who does struggle a little bit with his decision making. John Wall, I think, will help that in developing his play, making sure that Jalen Green, should, of course, we draft him, can make the right decisions on the court, make the right plays. And that is a really, really valuable thing. We've seen the jump that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has taken this season after a year of mentorship with Chris Paul. He basically had an all-star season this season. And I think with John Wall, we can get a similar effect. Obviously, we're not comparing Chris Paul to John Wall. That's not what we're doing here. But I think the veteran mentorship that John Wall brings to the table is something that is very, very valuable. And I think it is probably the main reason why we shouldn't trade him, as far as his value that he brings to the table and still brings to this team, even with his maybe underwhelming performance. Looking at possible trades for John Wall, one thing that I think strikes out a lot is that it's really hard to deal John Wall in a way that doesn't hurt the Rockets significantly, because in every mock trade, either the Rockets have to give up multiple first round picks, which is probably the last thing that a rebuilding team wants to do, or they're going to have to take on more bad contracts, which is incredibly counterintuitive to what the Rockets are trying to do in getting rid of Wall in the first place.
Right. And okay, if the Rockets do happen to trade John Wall, it is almost guaranteed that the Rockets would want to trade him to a contending team, a team like, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Mavericks, maybe Luca needs some help with ball handling. Pretty much any team, Denver, Miami, these teams, what they really need is John Wall's like playmaking abilities, his high IQ, and his defensive specialty when it's clutch time, when the game is on the line, how he steps up to take charge and to lead the team. But what what what's the problem is that his $41 million contract, at least for like this year, and $90 million until his contract ends, it's really in the way of the Rockets wanting to have that cap flexibility, because contending teams don't have $41 million just free that they can just take on his contract, most like because most of them are giving out big contracts to stars to come play for them and to help them win. So with John Wall, it would have to include a very hefty trade package in return, mostly with a regular player that the Rockets would want, along with salary fillers and bad contracts. So if the Rockets were to trade him to like LA, we would probably get Luke Kennard and his $16 million contract, but we would also, as a result, have to take on, say, Marcus Morris's and Patrick Beverly's high contracts. If the Rockets were to trade him to Miami, then we would probably get a young player back, but also we would have to take on high contracts, big contracts like an Andre Iguodala. So with the Rockets, there really is no trade that could possibly happen in which the Rockets would, be able to get a lot of, or be able to get just young guys on small contracts. What we would have to settle for is what is the best trade out of these, not so great trades.
Yeah, so like basically like you mentioned, so like trading him would kind of create future problems. So maybe not as big as a like having a guy like John Wall's salary, but like just like future problems you have to deal with, and like I think there's ways to work around that. But another point about why we should not trade him is like I think having John Wall on this team keeps this team competitive. I think if we were to keep this team running back, but add like a lottery draft pick like Cade, Suggs, or Green, I think this team could make the playoffs, and so and that playoff experience is like pretty valuable to young players, just starting out. So I think having that playoff experience that John Wall can help lead you to with that lottery pick, like whoever we draft with that lottery pick will be pretty helpful. And yeah, and so another reason why we should not trade him this off season, rather and we should rather trade him maybe perhaps next season, is we'll probably have to owe him less money. And just like that whole thing of buying out of $90 million, like do we see Tillman Fertitta doing that?
And again, the buyout possibility is one of the biggest question marks. Is the buyout, and number one, how early can you buy out John Wall's contract? And number two, will a buyout that large actually happen with a guy like Tillman Fertitta, who he's been known for his stinginess in a way over the past few seasons? And so the fact that he would buy out a $90 million contract is really hard to see. And for example, I guess one way that it could happen is, for example, with Blake Griffin this season, right? Where he had a very large contract, but what he did was he gave up a lot of money back to Detroit so that he can leave there. But the question mark with that is John Wall has to be really willing to get out of Houston if he's willing to give up that much money to leave. And I don't see that happening. I think Wall is happy where he is in Houston. And so that option is off the table. And so you're basically just looking at a full buyout. And I do not see that happening, especially with the amount of money that's left on his contract. I think it will be smarter to get him out of here next season where his contract is a little bit smaller and it would be easier to buy him out or trade him. And that wraps it up for this video. As always, leave your thoughts down in the comment section. Should we or should we not trade John Wall? Let us know down in the comment section. If you want to look at the other side of the story about why we should trade John Wall, it'll be in the top right-hand corner of the screen or in the description below. Thanks for watching. This has been me, Joel, DJ, and Anish, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.